Confused, this is not a Warped YouTuber signing right now. Sometimes people get confused. Rousing crowd today. How you guys doing? My name's Andy. I'm going to talk to you guys about shit. Whatever shit you want to talk about. Generally speaking, I would like to keep the class to the theme, which is education. Mostly nobody ever fucking listens to me about that, so we'll try. Does anyone have any questions prepared today that they would want to ask me? One person. This is unbelievable. Did you not know that you were coming to this today? You didn't? Jesus Christ. I feel like it is a known thing that I'm doing this shit. And then you go to the tent, you're like, hey, can I get that? Can I get a ticket? And then you're like, well, maybe I should think of a question. Nope, that's not what you guys do. You just come sit here. How many people here just to fucking look at me for like half an hour? It's not that great, I promise. It's not that awesome. Alright, so I'll say the stuff that they make me say beforehand. This is not, in theory, a meet and greet. This is more of a educational experience. Please do not raise your hand to tell me that you love my eyes or that you have a drawing of me. While I appreciate that, that is not what this is for. So I want to try to give the people who are here for the educational aspect all the time that they deserve. If you don't have a question, that's fine. If you do have a question, do not keep your hand raised for the entirety of another person's question, because that's dumb, and I don't want you guys to have hurt arms. I want to keep your arms intact. That's really a big part of this class for me, is that people don't hurt their arms. So, without further ado, I made sure that I had loud-ass bands playing during this, just so it's harder for you to hear me. Can you guys in the back hear me?
Yeah.
Wow, that's fucking amazing. Usually I ask that question which is suspect since they heard me ask the fucking question in the first place. So, let's get started. I'm gonna answer some questions. He has the microphone. Hey, the only way to get your question answered is by looking at him and trying to get the microphone. So if you want to pay him off a little bit extra money or something, I'm sure he'll accept bribes. Hello. There's a monster over there right now, by the way. I don't know if you can hear it.
Yeah, no, I can. It's really nice. I like it.
Alright, real quick. Say your name and then ask the question. Every day, this is a hard concept for people to understand. If you know your name, try to say it. Because it's a hard conversation to have without me knowing you in some capacity. So if you say your name, then I feel like we've met officially. So what is your name?
My name is Chelsea.
Hi, Chelsea.
Hi. Okay, so I'm 17 years old and I'm kind of on my way to college.
Sure.
Next year, which is terrifying.
Sure.
And I know I've heard a bunch of podcasts of yours, and I know that you never finished high school and you never went to college.
This is true.
But you're one of the most well-spoken people I've ever heard. And you're so eloquent, and I'm just kind of wondering, like, without formal education, like, is that always just how you were, or have you just always, like, read a lot? Did you listen to people?
Sure.
Was it your dad? Like, what?
First of all, I'm going to answer your question, but before I do that, I want to say that I am in such a good mood from that question, because by and large, the first question of every class has been like, hey, how do you do shit? Which is not really...
That too.
Not that great. So, can we all please give it up for a question that actually... It is so exciting. I'm gonna have a great day already, I can tell. Don't fucking ruin this, alright? This is... Alright, so yes, it is true that I did not finish any form of schooling, apart from grade school, I guess. And even then, I sort of skated by. I'll give you an abridged history of my educational thing. I was born into kind of a poor neighborhood, predominantly urban school. I was in the kind of school where other schools had to donate books to the school so that we could have textbooks, which is problematic because when you're getting books donated, they are not all the same. So the teachers would have to build lessons plans like people on the left side of the room open up to page 62, people in the middle 75, and they'd have to kind of have a generalized lesson plan. As you can imagine, this didn't do well for getting a blanketed level of education for everybody because people were learning different things. In third grade, I transferred to Catholic school, and the kids in Catholic school were farther advanced than me. They knew things that I didn't know in terms of mathematics and other things that were kind of difficult for me in the first place. I was already way behind. So by the time I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I was intellectually far behind the other students. People don't necessarily talk about it, but sometimes education can also be indicative of how popular you are, how you're able to talk to other students, because if everybody else is doing really well in school and getting good grades, and you're the kid who can't quite figure it out, people sometimes will kind of detach themselves from you. So me being not only kind of an odd kid who was, you know, like a little chubby kid who listened to rock and roll music, I had that going against me, plus the fact that I couldn't understand the concepts that the other kids did. So by the time I was in the middle of my kind of grade school years, I was already detached and I felt like school had kind of given up on me. By the time I got to high school, I was so far behind in mathematics that I was actually put into special education. And I was tested, and this is a fun thing, I was tested by the state of Ohio for mental retardation. I scored the highest that anyone has ever scored on the retard test. And it was shocking for them, and I had to explain that is because I am not mentally retarded. Therefore, I'm not going to do pretty well on the test, because association of like, what color is this, was something I was able to do. Though I was treated sort of like I had no intellectual abilities, in my personal life, I felt so frustrated by that I tried to apply myself as much as possible to ulterior modes of education. A lot of that was reading books constantly, trying to assimilate myself with adults in conversation, watching the news, reading the newspaper, trying to find out things about the adult world around me, because I felt that at school, people had sort of given up on me and weren't interested in teaching me. One of the unfortunate parts of the current schooling system in America is that teachers are often underfunded, and also their lesson plans are so stringent in what they can teach that they have to keep to a very specific thing. If you are a kid that is falling behind, it's very hard for a teacher in the average public school system in America to give that individual kid that attention. And anymore, teachers are in the capacity that they have to entertain in some way. They have to keep the attention of the students. And it's very hard to keep the attention of the students if you're not placating the emotions and the ideas of the most popular students. The easiest way to get everybody's attention is by being in the most popular group of people. So if you are able to get the smart kids and the popular kids and the whatever else to pay attention to you, by and large, most of the class will pay attention, because those are the people that everybody else aspires to. The weird kid in the back who can't do mathematics, it's very unlikely that he's going to be a tastemaker, so it's just kind of leave him alone. By the time I got to the middle part of high school, I knew pretty well that school had kind of given up on me. I was placed in a trailer about 2 miles off of campus with the kids who were like the juvenile delinquents, the kids who had robbed a bank or, you know, done everything else and had also given up on school. At that point, I was getting lesson plans like, and this is an actual thing I was asked to do an essay on, compare and contrast the political songs of Toby Keith and Alan Jackson. I was in fucking high school and they were telling me to do that. So at that point I knew that they had given up on me. And so I knew it was up to me to educate myself as much as possible. And so I did. I read as many books as I could. I talked to as many adults as I could. I tried to ingratiate myself into the adult community instead of being a kid with a kid brain. I wanted to be an adult with job skills and life skills. My vocabulary is not a magic trick. I was not born with a greater brain than someone else. I just knew that I needed to work hard to become the adult that I wanted to become. One of the biggest tragedies with young people today is that there's a celebration of ignorance. There's a lot of people who don't believe that they have to be educated, and they spend the majority of their time tweeting mean things at celebrities they've never met. That's great, but spending time to actually read a book and educate yourself and to become an adult that's actually useful to the workforce and the life force is hugely important, because otherwise you're kind of just going to be somebody that can get passed by, and that was never something I was interested in. So I don't advocate anybody drop out of school. In fact, the opposite, I advocate that people do finish high school and go on to college and become all the things that they want to become. I use myself as a cautionary tale of somebody that ultimately I gave up on school, and now I don't really, it's not like I have a lot of other options. While I am well-spoken, I have nothing on a resume. I have no, I mean, I would be the most well-spoken sandwich artist in the history of time. You know, there's not, it's very unlikely that I would be able to attain like a larger scale job. thankfully the music industry has worked out for me so that even if people stop listening to the band, I know enough about this field that I could stay in the world of the music industry and I could work in a management position or something else. Now I run and own like 3 separate corporations. I have different jobs outside of the music industry in the entertainment part of the world. So I'm fortunate that I was able to, I guess, scale my knowledge. But